Hi Kat, hi Seb. I've just sort of thought that I probably should have done you another video really because I've realised I sent you a bit of a rushed screenshots on Saturday and that was a bit unfair really. So I've kind of been playing with this model a bit more today and I've thought, well, this kind of needs a bit more explanation probably. So anyway, so I'm doing you another little video just to make sure you're happy with this final kind of plan. So basically, this is what I've come up with to make sure that all your levels work. And it's quite nice to see, I guess, the sort of final garden before you commit to it. So there we go. I think it all still works quite nicely. Basically, what I've done is we had 3 risers here for the steps to make this work with my raised beds that I want to keep here as squares. I'm reluctant to make them a sort of different shape. And then we had a flat sort of last step, if you like, but just at ground level, just to try and help with mowing because it gets I mean, it's not vital, but it can be a bit of a pain if you have grass right up to an upright. So what I've done is actually made that final bit that we had at the same width as an extra step, and it just means it makes it a little bit asymmetric, but I quite like that. We've got this last one kind of wrapping around the front of the bed on this side, and then here, this is where you've got obviously currently a little wooden kind of retainer, and you were saying, Kat, about the top of that is where the fence starts, and then that is the soil level for next door. So I actually think this all works fine. I think that's fine. I was thinking, yes, we'd retain this kind of at the fence and maybe have to put extra gravel boards under the fence or concrete gravel boards to the fence line to make this kind of all flat, because I was really keen to give you a flat lawn. But actually this works just as well. If we literally just kind of almost replace what you've got, but we're coming out wider to create a wider bed, and do that followed through with a render, just a little low retainer, which once this is all built we'll be more aware of what exact height that needs to be at. I've guesstimated that if we just followed up until the second step there, that would work quite nice visually. If we can get away with just a little lip edge up to the first step, then maybe that's even better. But whatever we end up with the levels once this is built, and we sort of put this in here to retain the soil, then any kind of excess here can go into this bed. Obviously we need excess when we cut out that slope to go in here, and it's very, very, very difficult to sort of quantify how much soil will need to go in here and here, or if you have to bring anything in or get rid of anything. I very much doubt that you'll need to take anything away from site and get rid of anything. I think we'll be able to use everything that comes out of this little bank, because you said it's about 50 centimetres, and lose it all in amongst here and in here. So I hope that makes sense. It's hard to know from the photograph sort of where that slope sits on our new garden, if you like. So once we've built this patio out and the steps down, it's hard for me to know because I'm not quite sure how far this comes out in terms of your actual garden, where that slope is. I've got a feeling it's probably just after that. It's probably just kind of about midway down the garden. But anyway, it will be nice to make a definite line that actually works with the design, because remember, we can create whatever levels and change of level wherever we want them to, so we don't have to be dictated by what's there currently. And what I've done, it just seemed to make sense visually, to use the same line as the little hedge that we've got in. So these proportions kind of work for me. If we start having another wall that ends a bit sooner, suddenly we're getting a little bit too sort of fussy. So let me just get rid of the the plants and stuff, and you can see it a bit clearer. Let's just get rid of all that duties, and yeah, okay, get rid of that. Yeah, so there you can see it just kind of lines up there. It's just a little retainer, either at second height, step height, or first step height. Kind of, that's what I'm not sure about at this stage, how it will work out. And then if I give you a little spin around, you can see how that will work. So this will be just exactly as you have it already with your neighbour, and then down at the bottom level here for the final sort of height, floor height at the end here. I hope that makes sense. Does that make sense? I hope so. And then what I was trying to say, but really badly in an email, was the only thing here, obviously, with having a slight height difference in this part of the bed and this bed, is that what we didn't want was the pleached trees to be a line and then a stagger and another line. So if I just pop those trees back in now, you'll see what I've done so that it makes sense. So let's raise this up a bit so you can see. Yeah, so what I wanted to make sure was that we ended up with still our 3 pleached trees in this one raised bed. So if we made this bed smaller, it might be that you only need it to come to here, but I think if we extend it out, then we can still get our 3s in, which kind of works nicely. Then I didn't want you to have a sort of gap here, because these trees before had been spread out down here. So I've put another little tree in here by the office building. So that's quite nice there. You've got a kind of you've got a stagger going on to ground level, a little raised bed to retain all the soil, and then the larger raised bed taking us up to the top of the steps. And then you've still got nice wide steps that are wide enough to sit on. I think 44, I think I'd worked out. I think it's something like, yeah, 44.7. And they're not too deep and too scary. Yeah, that works. So that accounts for that height difference, and this accounts for anything going on at the fence. So is that okay? I hope that still works for you and you're pleased with that. I've run the little sandstone set edging all the way around the lawn. You don't have to do that, of course, if it ends up too pricey, because I know all these things all cost more money, but you know, it's just it is a bit tricky when you come into mowing the lawn if you haven't got a nice edge. So then we spin round and we've changed this pergola back. And just to note on that as well, I did a bit more research on expanses that we can go before we need another upright, and it's a bit vague. I'd sort of always wondered about sort of 2 metres, I think I said before, but actually you can get away with more if you've got a bit more of a chunkier post. So I think if you, and if I specified that the posts are sort of 4x4 posts, quite chunky uprights, then we've got more room here to span, and visually I was happier with it kind of coming over about that kind of distance. I did a 2 metre span and it just looked too close to the building to comfortably get the egg chair and your hanging punch bag in there. So I've actually in the end gone wider than I said before, but it just, the proportions seem about right. You've got about enough space, I think, to go off the building, and you've still got plenty of room here for big furniture and all of that stuff. So what did I go here? I think I went, yeah, 2.4. So I did go over the 2 metres, but I think that is okay structurally, and I have actually found pergolas that go sort of 3 to 4 metres, but they're really, really chunky, really big then. So I was sort of happy that that worked. So then into this corner, yeah, I liked the idea of raising this up as a raised bed behind here, but this little bed here that I've got and the bed at the back are too skinny, and you end up, by the time you've put in block work, you end up with a tiny little skinny raised bed. So actually I started sort of looking at it and playing around, and I think I'm happy with this. I started off having an L-shaped bed in here, but like I said, it was too skinny and I didn't want to encroach into the play area too much. So just keeping it, I think, on that side, that would be nice actually when you're sat here to have that kind of around you, and like I said, giving you a cuddle around you behind the seating. And there's room then beside the pergola. I've popped in another little cheeky screen there and something in front of it, just so that it echoes back from the screens that we've got up on the patio terrace. Yeah, and I think we've still got plenty of room. I'm just going to flip back to overhead. Let's just get rid of the planting again because it interferes. So the only other thing to mention is that I think that your fence here isn't straight. We've got it slightly angled. So I have made this shape just to fit the fence line. I did sort of wonder whether to square it off, but then you'll have a funny gap behind it. So on site, when this gets built, I think if they just follow the fence line, you're going to end up with a slightly strange, almost triangular or wedge kind of shape planter. But once that's all planted and filled in, I don't think it will notice. So I think it was better to do it that way. And that still leaves, I mean, this sofa I've plopped in here is massive. That's 3 meters. So that's probably a bit overkill. You might end up with something smaller and a dining table, or you know, fire pit or whatever. So you've still got plenty of room down there for all those goodies. I've kept this just on the plan as was. I think it fits the size. All those ones that you found online are great, and we've got 3 by 4 meters to get whatever office you sort of buy or decide to go with in there. Just something I think to mention is that I had in mind that this would come off the building. Obviously, if you go with a timber clad building rather than a render, this might be slightly different. So that might just need a bit of thought. These two things kind of go together, really. It's kind of the pergola and the office, something to perhaps go in at a later date, but they need to be kind of considered and built together. So if you need my help further down the line, I'm quite happy to do that. If this sort of configuration doesn't work and you find a year down the line that, you know, you needed a few more drawings or to think about this, then I think perhaps that's the time to look at it. Yeah, I think it needs to be sort of designed in conjunction, really, because obviously we can have more posts. If you want this a freestanding structure, we can have posts along this side to make this work as a freestanding thing, but we would have to be very mindful, obviously, about where the doors are. So I could end up specifying this on the plan and then it's all completely wrong. You could have something like that, for example. If I just try and move that over, so it doesn't want to do it. So you could have sort of, two posts on this side and make it completely freestanding. What I was trying to say, again, really badly, was that if you built that all in place now and then tried to put a building in, it's probably going to cause you some problems. So I thought for now it's best to kind of indicate on the plan what your intentions are, that you do at some stage want to build this office and this pergola kind of attached to it. And I should probably leave it at that. So I think that's it. I think what else did we do? Oh yes, I've put in the raised beds for your veggies. And again, this is entirely up to you how and what size you want to build them. I think originally I'd squeezed them right up into the corner, and then I realised, well, that's a bit rubbish for access. So it's probably better to have a little access path all the way around. And it might be quite nice to have them at sort of, different heights here. And then you've got room for, you might be able to squeeze in another little narrow one down here maybe with tall stuff growing. So that's all really. You can see here how that flatbed works against the raised bed. I'll just pop the plants back in like so. So I hope that's all okay. If you're happy with this now, what I've been working on is working up your proper plans for the builder. So I'll just show you what I mean by that. Sorry, bear with me, and I'll just show you what I'm working on and where I'm at. So the next stage is these layout pages. So this is now the scale plan, and it will have it will be to scale at 1 to 50, so all the measurements can be taken off here. And then what I've got is a whole series of extra pages that I can't seem to get to now that I've done a screenshot of it. Oh, here we go. Maybe I can get to them now. No, can't seem to get to them. Oh, that's annoying. Well, I have got a whole series of extra pages I don't want to open. Technical difficulties. Anyway, the extra pages will show kind of lighting options, some specification for build in terms of heights of raised beds, sort of foundations, MOT levels, all the sort of materials, the render finish, all that kind of fun stuff. So it will all be detailed with everything that you need to sort of proceed with. But I kind of feel like I don't want to go much further with this now until we've got all these things signed off, really. I should have perhaps done this video for you last week, so I'm sorry about that, apologies. But yeah, I think it's better to get this completely right now rather than me just kind of forging ahead. So if you get a chance to look at it and let me know your thoughts, and then I'll go from there. Okay, thanks guys. I hope you're feeling a bit better, Kat. Pat said that you were feeling really rough and were really poorly, so I hope you're on the mend, and we'll catch up again soon. Okay, take care. Bye.